So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben.
Hey Rockstar Nation, my name is Ian Lobos, and today's episode we're going to be talking with Beth Traverso from Seattle, Washington, mega agent, team owner, huge success story. Beth, really excited to have you on the program today. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Hi Ian, thank you so much. I really appreciate being invited to participate in your program. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, Beth, you got an awesome story, and I want to get right into that because I think it's going to be able to impact and influence a lot of other agents. So tell us about you. You're from Seattle.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm in Seattle. I actually live just outside Seattle, about a 20-30 minute drive from the center of Seattle. And I lead a team of myself and 3 agents, and we did about 90 transactions last year, a volume of about 63 million. And our average sale price is around $680,000.
Love that.
Yeah.
So you've got an interesting story. So you've been in real estate for 20 plus years.
Yes, 21 years. And the first part of my career, it's almost 2 sections in my career. The first part of my career, I was just kind of winging it and doing okay. And I had a decent enough business, but it wasn't really a business. It was kind of more about just like whatever sort of happened to come my way. And I was able to make a decent enough living doing that. But then I reached a point about 5 years ago where I really had to kind of a do or die moment where I pretty much had to reinvent myself and do things differently and treat my business as a business. And that really was a pivotal point in my career and my life.
What was that moment?
So I think we all remember, I'll back up a little bit further. So about 2008, 2009 was when, the economy was collapsed, the world was falling down around us, and real estate was at the center of that. And for myself, I everything that my husband and I we had built was all centered around real estate, whether real estate investments, my real estate career, his construction career. All of our safety nets basically went away, and we lived off our savings for a while with some land that we were able to fire sale. And I had 3 little kids, like newborn and a toddler and a preschooler. And one of them had major health problems, and everything was threatened all at once. And I kind of had a realization. I was thinking, well, what can I do about this to take control back? I was starting to feel defeated, which is a horrible place to be.
Sure.
And so I looked at my life and I said, well, what can I do? And I realized really what I'm good at is real estate. And I always knew I had great potential that was relatively untapped. And it really came down to a point of like, I have to do, it's like do or die. Like I have to do this. There's no other option. I need to find what resources I can find to learn how to do this in a real significant way. And once I made that change and started doing the work and building the business and seeing this, then I started seeing the results of this. The success started to come, and then that fueled me to just do better and seeing that growth and then explosive growth. That just now that energizes me and keeps me propelled forward.
Love it. What were those things that you found that made that difference?
As far as like resources?
Yeah, was it lead generation? Was it changing brokerages? What was it?
It was changing brokerage. First of all, the broker owner of the Remax franchise that I'm with, he's a very entrepreneurial person, and he actually just kind of cold called me out of the blue, like, hey, you want to come join my brokerage? And it was right when I was thinking about like I need to do something big, and his approach was different. It was more about like teaching me how to be a business person rather than how to be a good real estate agent. Because I already knew how to be a real estate agent. I didn't serve clients. It's more about like how to be a good business person. So like that really clicked with me. And so they gave me a business plan of basically like do this and then do that. Like every week I would just do a different thing and build off of that thing. And then I joined coaching I coach through Tom Ferry's organization. And so that's a bigger game changer too, just to keep leveling up. I'm always about constantly looking for the next level, and there's always room for growth. Never get complacent. So basically just using those tools to continue to build. And so it involves lead generation, involves branding, involves a lot of different things.
So what was it about coaching that really helped shape you?
It's always nice. I kind of reached a level where I felt like I had surpassed a lot of the agents that I knew. And I needed to surround myself with people who are operating at a higher level to help me realize what is possible.
Got it.
You know, you need to have peers and people that are always above you. Like, I don't ever want to be like the top person.
Right, right.
I want to be learning from others who have gone before me, done things in a bigger, better way, or just learn from those people. And tapping into that coaching community was really really pivotal. Pivotal.
Yep. So leveling up your peer group.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great mentorship and coaching. And then let's talk about some of the skills before we get into your, like, the details of your business. What were the skills you actually leveled up? Obviously, personal development was one of those, it sounds like. So you grew as a person.
Yeah.
Who were you before? Like, what were you doing before? You were still closing a good amount of deals. And then what happened in like 5 years ago? Because that wasn't the economic downturn that we know of, like 2008. What happened that like
started running out, honestly.
What was it?
that was when the money started running out.
Got it.
Yeah. And that I'm not the kind of person that has like a fallback, so, and I've never had another career other than real estate. I've always been in real estate. So yeah.
You ran for what, 15 years in a reactive mode?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So can you talk about that a little bit? Because I know there's a lot of agents out there, myself included, a long time ago, that I would just take what was kind of coming. And yes, I was lead generating, and I'm sure you were too, but not in a purposeful manner. It was an entrepreneurial manner. So it was like, yes, I'm doing the things that I think I should be doing. And yes, I'm getting some business and I'm satisfied, but I'm not growing.
Right. And so basically it was just working, before it was mostly just working off my sphere and my past clients and, people I found at open houses, et cetera. Just kind of more like not enough lead generation pillars and not enough volume to really sustain growth. And so I just started bringing in different sources of lead generation, working with strangers more or less, with that strangers, working on that. I started Zillow actually was really is really pivot. There's that word again. It was really pivotal. Bringing Zillow on was really pivotal in my business because it allowed me to bring in an additional lead generation source where people were coming to me directly. And so I just I dove both feet in on that one to develop that.
You're still doing that today?
I am, yes.
Okay. So let's get down to it. How many transactions, how many houses did you guys sell, your team, in the last 12 months?
90 houses.
90. Is that normal for Seattle, or is that not normal?
No,
obviously, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It puts me in the top 1% in the area, probably top 0.1 maybe. About 55 of those were me individually doing that, and the others were team members.
Talk about the structure of your team for a second. So it's yourself and was it 3 other agents?
Yes, I just brought on a third agent. Okay. So it was myself and 2 other agents that work, primarily as buyer agents, but not exclusively. And then I have an admin, a full-time admin that helps support our team and our clients.
Got it. And how much volume? How much volume is that? 90 houses.
It's about 63 million or so.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You got a nice price point there. 650,000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My average sale price is something like 682,000, something like that.
Wow, that's awesome. And so, how much GCI did you get from that?
1.65 in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you ever look back on that and go, man, 5 years ago I was scrounging for money, and I just, 5 years later I made $1.6 million?
It's still kind of, when I step back, it still is kind of mind-boggling to think about that.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And then your profit margin. Can you tell us about that?
It's about 50%.
Okay.
So costs a lot of money to generate that kind of business. And
yeah. Wow. 50% is really, that's really nice. 50%.
yeah. Yeah. Good.
Wow.
Good. We try to run a lean ship, like I don't have a mega team, for me, I like to have a small, highly productive team rather than a large team that is a cost of for me. It seems like the more people are on the team, the more expenses are associated with that.
Sure.
So
then how many do you handle buyers or are you all listings? What's your listing versus buyers percentage on your team?
I'm about 60% sellers, 40% buyers.
Okay.
I still do work with buyers a lot, and a lot of my buyers are sellers too, so that kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
I like doing both sides. It gives me a better perspective, I think, as a listing agent, to see what the buyers are doing out there and what they're looking for and what they're seeing. Helps me keep a better pulse of the market.
Totally.
And then the other way around too. So when I'm working, with sellers, I work with sellers. I know what buyers are experiencing. I'm working with buyers. I know what the sellers are experiencing, and I can use that knowledge to help advise my client, whether they're a buyer or a seller. Having that knowledge. Yeah.
So you talked about Zillow for the buyer leads. What's your number one source for listing leads?
Well, I think, like besides the usual sphere of influence and past clients, right? So believe it or not, my biggest seller lead source is Zillow also, because a lot of those, I know people don't really think of Zillow as being a seller lead source, but it really is, at least in my market, maybe because we are a higher price point, people have a house to sell. It's not usually a first time buyer, although we do have some of those too. But there's a good percentage of those buyers that come to us through Zillow that have a house to sell. And so we work a lot with them on both sides.
Now, are you doing any
clients, and they generate business from there?
Are you doing any other marketing besides Zillow or any other type of lead gen?
I am. Yeah, I have 3 geographic farms that I do, and those have been generating business. So they did take about probably 3 years or so to really gather traction.
Yeah.
And because and it seems to be more for like the really long-term residents seem to respond to it's a direct mail postcard linked to a lead capture website through CoreFact is who I use for that. Like most of my marketing, it's automated. It happens whether I'm thinking about it or not. I have to decide to do a postcard every month and make it and deliver it. It just goes without me. It's all my marketing is pretty much on autopilot, which I think is really key to making sure it stays consistent.
Yeah.
So there's the geographic farm, and then I've been having some success with Yelp lately too. I've been branching out into different online sources for lead generation, and Yelp has been performing well too. Getting a good ROI off of that.
What's up, brokers, team leaders, office managers, and rainmakers of teams? I got a question for you today. What are the 2 most frustrating things about running a real estate team? The 2 things that cause you more headaches than anything else. Think about it. The brokers I've talked to have all given me the same answer: recruiting and retention. If you're in the same boat, if nothing you've tried seems to work, I've got some good news. Your problem finding, recruiting, and retaining high-quality agents are about to be over. I'm launching my new Retoot course, a course that provides an in-depth, first-ever look at the recruiting and retention secrets of the industry's top recruiters. To kick off Retoot's launch, I'm offering the course along with 2 other high-value items at a super low price to podcast listeners. Since I'm throwing in 2 free items with my Retoot Secrets course, I'm going to simply call it my 1-2-3 discount package. Okay, so let me talk to you about the 1-2-3 discount package. In addition to Retoot, you're going to get a subscription for each of your teammates or anybody in your office to my Big Profit Weekly Jackpot emails, which are basically agents from around the world giving advice on how to increase your profit on a daily basis in this business. If your agents put these effective, easy to implement tips to use, their sales and most importantly, their profits will improve. Plus, I'll provide you with a year's worth of monthly sales meetings, content to have at your sales meeting so you don't have to struggle figuring out what to say to your agents or your team. I'm calling it my Lunch and Learn sales training series. That's an entire year's worth of sales meetings that you won't have to plan and that your agents are guaranteed to get massive value from. So to recap, purchasing the 1-2-3 discount package gets you 1, my brand new Retoot course, 2, my Big Profit Agents weekly jackpot emails for everybody in your office, and 3, a year's worth of Lunch and Learn training sessions. If you want this limited time package, act fast and go to hibandigital.com/123. Real easy, hibandigital.com/123.
I love that. Can you talk more about Yelp?
Yeah, so Yelp, I was a little bit nervous to get onto Yelp at first, because people tend to be, you're putting yourself out there, vulnerable to
Right.
negative reviews. I think that's what I think of when I think of Yelp. But a lot of people do go on there. They just Google. I want to make sure when people Google like real estate agent in my area that I'm popping up. It doesn't cost that much. I mean, it does cost money, but it's not as much as say like a Zillow or one of those other ones where you have to spend a very, very significant amount of money to get good market exposure.
Yeah.
Yelp, there's fewer people in there, for at least in my area. It's very important to respond very quickly. That's always the case, right? With the speed to lead, but definitely on Yelp. You have to, just like anything, you got to be ready to kind of sort through the good and the bad to find them in there. But there's a lot of people who, like, by the time they come to me, they're pre-sold because they've looked at me. Usually they look at me on my website, they see me on Yelp and all the, it's all about the reviews again, getting reviews on Yelp. They see you on Zillow, they see me everywhere. And then by the time they come to me, they're usually pre-sold, which makes my job a lot easier. So it's basically about like owning my online presence across all platforms so that I get a lot of really, really warm, introductions from people coming to me asking for help.
Love that.
Buying or selling. Yeah.
So regarding your number one source, which is Zillow, right? Or is it SOI? So let's say regarding the number one source.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What could you tell our listeners to do right now that would help increase their production right away?
On Zillow?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say go in there and make sure your profile is very robust. There's a lot of help free. You can do that for free. And even if you spend zero, I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about Zillow, but all I can say is like they are offering a free platform out there for you to claim your presence in your area. So I think anybody can go on there, put a good picture on there, write a nice bio, claim your past sales so people can see it on the map. Make sure that there's something good on there because people are going to vet you online before they call you, wherever they find you. Even if it's a referral from their friend refer you, they're going to check you out online. And then Zillow is one of the places, probably the biggest place that people go online to vet their real estate agent.
Yeah.
So that is the number one thing you can do is just go on there, make sure your profile is very robust. You can upload a video on there. There's a lot of things you can do for free on Zillow. So definitely, I think everybody should do that.
Love that. And then you have a full-time admin. As far as systems, what systems are you super excited about?
Yeah, so we use Asana task management, and it's not very exciting because it's really just like a checklist system, but it excites me because it gets me out of my head because I'm one of those people, I'm very, very like, I have a very, very high standard of quality. And so I want to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. That's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. So working with Asana, basically like if something comes up that I feel needs to happen with a transaction or every transaction, we just change our template, add another checklist item in there. We can add time at what point it happens in the transaction. You can have the email templates like loaded in there or like at this point, call this person. And so basically it just makes it all as automated and systemized as possible. I mean, a human's doing it, right. But it makes it like, I don't have to remember to tell her like, hey, can you call and remind, can you, ask about the appraisal for this house? She knows what to do when. It's time to schedule the final walkthrough. What are we going to do for a client gift? That kind of thing. It's like, it's all in there. And I don't have to think about every single thing because when you get beyond a certain a number of transactions, it becomes impossible to keep all that in your head. So you have to have good systems to build it on, or the whole thing will disintegrate or
Unravel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have those type of systems before, or were you just running like everything in your head?
I was running in my head, like I get a listing and I'd be like feel a little overwhelmed, like what am I forgetting? What do I need to do now?
Right.
Or what happens now? Now it's like seller calls, like you have it, okay, here's what I'm gonna do now. Here's what's gonna happen in my phone call. Here's what's going in my pre-listing package. Here's what I'm gonna say when I'm at their house, and here's what I'm gonna do at the listing appointment. Here's what I need to prepare before the listing appointment. When we get the listing, what happens next? It's all just like boom, boom, boom. Everything's very ordered. And so it allows me to focus on the client and being present for them instead of thinking about all the minutia and all the little, paperworky things that aren't really like my strong suit. So
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, every transaction is pretty much the same. It's just the human element that makes it different, right?
Yeah.
So having the setup of once this happens, like we have that too. We have a next step email and an expectations email that goes out. And it's triggered in the system by something. So from a lead to a prospect, from a prospect to an appointment to a client, something triggers. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Game changing. Yeah.
Game changing. And that system was called Asana, ASANA?
Yeah, ASANA. And I forget what it costs, but it's really reasonable, super easy to use. We live by it.
And that's your full transaction management software?
Yeah.
And does your admin do all your transaction coordination?
She does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. 90 transactions. That's awesome. That's a lot.
Yeah. She has an assistant now too, a part-time assistant that helps her.
Okay.
Yeah. She does our listing prep and the transaction management. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, and the marketing stuff too. So yeah, it's a lot.
At what point did you get the admin on board? At what point were you like, okay, enough?
Right. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, my coach was on me for like a year to get an assistant before I actually did. And it's scary to make that leap. I get it, because it's responsible for somebody else's livelihood too.
Yeah.
You don't have pressure. But I brought on an assistant, and I kind of went against advice. Like I got somebody who was like a licensed agent to be my assistant and like a buyer's agent or a showing helper, so she was doing like sales work and admin. It really is better to get one or the other. Like my administrator, she's a rock star with what she does. She doesn't desire to be in real estate sales. Like she wants to do what she does. And in return, like she gets I never bother her evenings and weekends. Gets that time as her time. I do not infringe that. Salespeople is different, it's anything goes, So, I hired somebody who was kind of just straddling the line, doing both. And right when she was brought on a couple years ago, it was my busiest week ever so far in my career. Like I had like 8 transactions in 1 week, and I was just like, whoa! I didn't have all my systems going really the way they should have been, and it was kind of chaotic. So pretty soon it ended up being something where I had to give her a choice to like go, which one do you want to do, sales or transaction management? And she decided to go onto the sales side of things, and that's when I was fortunate enough to find somebody really skilled who was looking for a position, who already had worked in a real estate office and knew what to do. And so that was really incredible. So I'm a big fan of Darren Hardy, and one of his principles in his, I think it was in the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster book, was players pay for themselves, or whoever he says that. And it really is true. So it's like, it's worth going out there and finding like the absolute best. They will pay for themselves. Like, don't worry about the cost, because they generate so much more than what I have to pay them to have them on my team. They contribute a tremendous amount of value. So I was lucky to find that person in my administrator who is extremely valuable member of the team. Like we wouldn't be able to do it without her.
Love that. And how long has she been with you?
About 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have to train her at all, or she just came in, she slotted in?
So it was kind of both. She trained me, I trained her.
Okay.
And then we just kind of were always tweaking it and adding on. I kind of had the Asana thing going, but I wasn't really using it very well, because I'm always out there. I'm very much involved in, I'm very client facing, like I'm out there on appointments all day long, just running, going, doing, I'm not like doing all the, computer stuff.
Right.
And paperworky things, or if I do it, it's like at midnight, So, so she kind of trained me on how to use it better, and I just kind of come up with the ideas of like, here's what I set the expectations of like, here's what I want. And I do have a very high standard of practice. Like I want to do things like the very best and like bring the most value. And so I'm always looking for ways to like tweak it, adjust it, make it better, quality control, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I know she has that mindset too.
I love that. So you mentioned that you don't want to get the team too big, but what are your plans? I mean, 90 transactions, where are you going with this thing now that you've got it really dialed in? Where are you taking it?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I want to avoid is complacency. I don't ever want to get complacent. I don't think that's a good space to be. So I'm always looking to be open to growth. And so at some point I may end up delegating more to, if I get a bigger team, I may bring on at some point a listing agent to help with me. That's like the scariest thing for me is that right now is to let go of that.
Sure.
At some point I would probably, there'll be the logistical, next step. And my coach is kind of saying that that's sort of what I need to be doing so that I can have more time to myself or to my family, So I'm open. I think, this year I want to do over 100 transactions. I think we have the capacity to easily do 150 or more. It really is just a matter of just getting more efficient with our follow-up systems and making sure we have enough people. That's why I just brought on another person, because we're getting to the point where leads were starting to fall through the cracks and not getting follow-up, which is just a kind of big waste. So basically just tightening it up and bringing on, I want to bring on a couple more people, but ultimately I kind of take it year by year.
Yeah.
It's something I want to, my personal goal is to start focusing more on my real estate investment side of things, which I've been doing for the past 15 years. That's kind of exciting me for the future, like getting into more of the investment side and working on that and developing that.
So working with investors or building your own investments?
My own.
Okay, cool.
I think, like working on real estate sales is a great way to make a living. And it certainly is a lot of fun. I love working with people and getting to know all these great people that I get to become friends with through the process. Is just really rewarding. But at the end of the day, really, real estate investment is really where the real money is made. And for as far as like building wealth for retirement, passive income and all of that, I've been a huge fan of that for the last 15 years or so. And we've built a pretty decent portfolio, but I would really like to grow that more.
Do you find it interesting that real estate is one of the best ways to build passive income and wealth, and most real estate agents who are in real estate and have access to all the stuff don't invest in real estate?
Yeah, it's ironic. It really is. Early on in my career, way back, I had a really good friend and real estate agent who I was partners with, and he was a real estate investor, very entrepreneurial, smart person. He actually retired, semi-retired at like 45, moved to Spain with his family, and he's basically just living on real estate investments, but he was
that's awesome.
I know. He's like living the dream, and so he's still a really good friend and mentor. We talk all the time, but his thing was like, we had a really good year. Or what seemed like a really good year, back in 2000 or whatever. He's like, don't spend your money, go buy a rental property right now. Like, do not talk to me until you find a rental property and you buy it. And so I was like, okay. I was probably like 25 years old or something. I went and bought a rental house, and it all just started from there, and I'm telling you, it really has been an amazing learning experience, and just fantastic way to build wealth. And
how many properties do you have?
8 properties.
Okay.
Now. Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about a failure that you had that today you look at as a successful experience?
Yeah. So I would say so backing up a little bit, my first admin experience, I hired the wrong person, who was not the rock star that my current one is. So backing up a little bit, like I did try it out with somebody else before her, and it basically just bombed, and ended up being a very expensive mistake just because I hired somebody who did not have the skill set at all.
Yeah.
And I was sharing them with somebody else, which didn't really work. And that was quite a failure, but that was very much a learning experience, because then like the next time around okay, I'm doing this for real, doing it the right way. Learning how to be a leader of people, has been a challenge for me. So that failure, I failed at that one, gave me a good base.
Yep.
Know what I didn't want and learn what I did want, and help me, refocus my energies into like, okay, I'm going to build this team. I need to do this the right way. And so it just kind of was a good, kind of slap in the face to keep me on the right track there. It's
almost like a rite of passage. Like you almost have to take on that first hire, whether it's an agent or an admin or both, and just like work through what you just don't know, you didn't know, and then you figure it out. And I know some agents that have been successful with their first hires, and I think it's pure luck.
Yeah.
And I know 95% of most agents, they failed with their first admin and first agent hire because they're not leaders yet. We think we can lead.
Go with the person you like versus like what their skills are, or ignoring red flags. I kind of parallel to like going back to like the investment thing, like working with tenants, like being a landlord and working with tenants. Like I've made a lot of mistakes being a landlord, and you learn from those, and a lot of them, like I've seen like every mistake I've made, like I always kind of knew in the back of my mind that it might be a mistake, but then I just did it anyway. And then, no surprise, didn't work out as planned. But you learn and you grow. Yeah.
That's how we do it. Jump in, figure it out, swim, get to the next one. So, what advice would you give yourself if you could go back in time 20 years ago as a rookie agent from today? What advice would you give that rookie agent?
Create a business plan.
All right.
Simple, right? Like that's what you start with. Like you can't do anything without that. Find a mentor or mentors, multiple mentors. I still have multiple mentors. And you start with a business plan. It's like when I started working with my coach or, my broker now is like, well, what's your goal? You got to have a goal. And then you reverse engineer it from there. And I wish somebody had like sat me down and kind of walked me through it. It's sort of like, I just kind of thrown to the wolves, and I felt kind of alone as a new agent, it's sort of like, okay, here you go. This is back before even like internet wasn't even a really big thing back in the late 90s.
Right.
How do I even do this here? So how do you find buyers and sellers? And so, start with the business plan, find your mentors, step by step by step. That's the main thing for me really, was like, I was too overwhelmed by thinking about like the enormity. When I had to like build my business for real, and I saw like people with successful businesses, I felt sort of like, how do I even get from here to there? It just felt like totally mind blowing and like incomprehensible.
Yep.
It's important for me to step back and just take tiny little bite-sized chunks, and just like, one thing I can do today is I can do this, I can get some great headshots. That's what I can do right now. I can like add a Zillow profile. Sure. Look into starting a farm, like, okay, I'm going to work on that this week. Think about what's going to make the best farm. It's like you can do those little bite-sized chunks, and of course, always focusing on the appointments. It's like it all revolves around appointments. Like making the appointments is number one. You don't want to get too bogged down into your plan and like working out the, all the different minutia if you're not like meeting people, like that has to be the number one priority always.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you can think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox, and it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode.
So what do you say to a new agent who asks you for your advice and says, Beth, what do? I want to build my business like yours. But I don't have a ton of sales. What do I do? And you would say, get a mentor, get a coach, get something. Yeah. And they go, well, I don't have money for a coach.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things you can do for free. You know, for example, listen to this podcast. There's a lot of great out there, right?
Yep.
A lot of free things out there. So many, you know, I basically, we all spend a lot of time in our cars, right? So I'm always listening to, like, you know, an Audible book, a podcast. I'm feeding my brain constantly. So you can do a lot of that for free. And there's probably somebody in their office that really has it going on that would be happy to share. And I find that most people that are really successful are very open and sharing. They have an abundance mindset. They're not going to, if they see somebody really willing to do the work, that's the other thing, is that you got to be, like, willing to do the work, you know, instead of just, like, listen, you know, you got to, like, be ready to get out of your comfort zone and go do it.
Yeah. Be in action.
Yeah. And, like, when people call me and they say, hey, can I have coffee with you and talk with you about some things I'm thinking about in my business? I always say yes. That's always a yes. So.
Because you learn from them too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I still have people that I like to meet with once a quarter or whenever, just, like, hear what's going on in their business. What are they having success with? What's their challenges? And, you know, it's just good to just feed your mind with that. And you can do that with no cost. And then when it comes a point to sign up for coaching, there's a lot of options out there for that too. So, there is some cost to it, but, you know, like any business, there's always going to be some overhead to it. I think that's something that people in real estate have a little bit of trouble with. Because, like, when I first started, it was like, well, I don't have to, you know, you just pay you get your open house signs, you get your, you know, and, you know, you pay for a few little things, you know, but we forget that, like, real businesses have real overhead. Like, if you go to a restaurant, you know, like, they have to rent the space, they have to decorate it, you got to, like, buy the food and all those things, you know, and it's like, and that's how, you know, when you're building a real estate business, you have to invest in those things too. So, but it's incremental, you know. Lucky for us, we don't have to do it all at once. We can build it up slowly.
That's true. I mean, real estate is one of the lowest barriers to entry businesses I've ever come across. I mean, a restaurant, you know, you get $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 startup cost, buying the food, decorating the restaurant, getting the space, building the space out. Real estate is so simple because you're right. You only have so many costs, but it's your responsibility to build yourself into a business owner and learn that was your big gap 5 years ago. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm not a business owner. Huge. I'm just a successful real estate agent.
Yeah, I know. And if I had thought back then about, like, how much it was going to cost me to run my business, I probably would have just, I don't know. I probably still would have done it, but it's definitely a little bit scary to think about, you know, having to be, you know, generate that kind of business to be able to support your business.
Sure.
So, but, you know, I didn't do it all at once. It's always just a little bit. Like, when I started with Zillow, for example, I started with $300 of a very small zip code, you know, not really expecting much to happen with it. And then, I started getting business out of it, and then I just kind of bought a little more, watched the ROI. You always got to watch your ROI, very return on investment. You got to watch it very carefully to make sure you're making more money than you're putting in. And for me, I need to make, you know, at least 3 ROI to make it even worthwhile. So,
like, you know, 3 times your investment.
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah. So put $1 in, like $3 needs to come out, or it's not worth doing, in my opinion. So, but also take sometimes to see the ROI. You got to give it, for me, like 6 to 12 months for any new thing. Like, if you're going to start a geographic farm, for example, and you stop after 3 months, I mean, it's just a total waste. You have to do it for a minimum a year to really start seeing any kind of ROI from that. What made
you, like, what were the signs that made you stick with your farms for 3 years before they started producing? That's a long time.
I know. Well, you know, what were the signs? Well, I started getting phone calls, and it's like anything, you got to nurture the leads, right? So like a seller might say, like, well, I'm seeing, I get a hold of people saying now, I see you everywhere. We've been getting your postcards now I do it now twice a month because my coach said to do it twice a month, and granted, I started getting some people who were really receptive, and I started getting some people who were like kind of crabby about it, which of course I just take them off the list. But I've since learned that like, once you get like the haters or the crabby, then you're doing something right, because you're reaching that saturation point where people are like, Beth Traverso, enough already of you,
Right.
Or I love you. So it's like, great. So as soon as I started getting people, getting to see the name recognition, like I would go around town and people like, oh, you're that person, I was like, yeah. So it's just really, really good for branding. And so as soon as I started seeing that kind of recognition happening, I knew I was on the right track, and I kept with it. And then, as soon as you get people like starting to contact me, and, you start getting some business out of it, then, it doesn't take a lot for the farming actually is not that expensive. And so it really doesn't, our price point, with an average commission of say like $21,000 or thereabouts, like it doesn't take that many deals to create a positive return on investment, even just like a couple deals a year is worth it, So yeah.
What's your biggest source of pain in the business right now?
For me, it's like now we have all these different like tech platforms trying to mesh together.
Yep.
And it drives me crazy. So like, we have these certain lead generation systems, like not just Zillow, but we're doing another one called Ylopo is another really interesting one that's newer for us. And I don't know if you work with Ylopo at all, but
yeah, I've heard of it for sure.
Yeah, and they do some really cool stuff with like engagement and nurture, which is really cool. However, that involves drips and things, and so sometimes it gets kind of mixed up with other drips we have going on, and I don't want people to feel like they're talking to a bot, and then like I talk to them, and then they get like some weird, drip that's like doesn't make sense and says it's from me, and like that kind of stuff. Like that's sort of like my biggest pain point, because like I'm not really like a I don't want to be tech support or whatever,
Yeah.
I just want it all just to flow, but that's probably my biggest pain point at this time.
So I want to talk to you about a couple of things. So you mentioned some podcasts and some books you're reading. Can you tell the audience what are like two of your favorite books that you think they should read, and what are your two favorite podcasts besides Real Estate Rockstars?
Right. Okay. So let's see. For podcasts, I've been doing Super Agents Live. That's a fun one. And I listen to Tom Ferry. He puts out a lot of content, so he does a podcast too. And as far as books, like, right now I'm listening to like some negotiation books. Never Split the Difference. I'm listening to right now.
Fantastic book.
Chris Fox. Yeah. I'm listening to that one more than once, because like some of these stuff is like really goes deep and there's a lot to learn. Sometimes I'll listen to him more than once. I'll circle back to him later. Every day I do the Darren Daily. Here, that's another thing you can do for free. Sign up for Darren Daily. You get it every morning at 5 a.m. Bing, I get a nice little nugget of insight from Daily. Darren Hardy comes right to me. So like those are the things I do pretty much on like a regular basis. Yeah.
Love that. What is one piece of advice you can give agents to drastically change their business?
Be ready to do the work. Be ready to go outside your comfort zone and do things that you feel like you can't do. Like there was a time when I would have felt like maybe I couldn't do this, like sit down and have a chat with you. Like I remember the first time I was asked to like talk in front of a group, I was terrified because I'm not a natural extrovert. I'm not one of those people. It's like, hey, look at me, like pay attention to me. I'm not reality. I'm more, I love people, but I'm not like, I never saw myself as being like that. So for me to get comfortable, just like sharing in front of a group of people, took a little bit of work, so it's this, but like anything, the more you do it, the more comfortable it gets. Like anything hard, like becomes easy the more you do it, just like anything anybody ever learned in their life, so you have to be ready to do that. So I would say if somebody could just be ready to just like step outside your comfort zone, like pick up the phone and make the calls, and that kind of thing. It's just the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so just put yourself out there and be willing to do the things that you don't necessarily want to do. Like in real estate, we're asked to keep crazy hours, and you have to be open to like shifting and doing things, at a moment's notice. Like, hey, somebody wants to write an offer on a house. Oh, I had other plans. Okay, let's do it, you know, or find a way to make it work. It's not like here's the problem, end of story. It's like, here's the problem. How are we going to solve the problem? Now I have a team, you know, so I can bring them in to help me solve the problem. But just being ready to just like be in that kind of solution mindset.
Sure.
And be willing to do the difficult things. That really is, because if you're not willing to do the difficult things, like I just don't really see how it's really hard to be successful in this business if you're not willing to push yourself out of your comfort zone and do the things you don't want to do sometimes.
I love that. So I want to take you back really quickly to your transition from the 20 years in business to that 5 year ago point. I know a lot of real estate agents that are listening right now are there or they're going there because the markets are shifting, and the way that agents are interacting with clients and with, you know, iBuyer programs and AI bots, you know, like there are things interrupting and disrupting the agent population right now, especially if you're just a single agent kind of getting by. Take the agents back to that time 5 years ago. And what was it through your personal growth? Because you had to grow. Your business didn't do anything. You had to grow into that. What were some of the things you did back then? I mean, obviously back then you didn't have a coach. So was it a book? Was it a seminar you went to? What was it that helped you shift from who you were to who you were becoming?
Yeah, it was, it was a lot of things, but so I had to, that's a tough question because it goes so many different directions.
Yeah.
So let's see, help me refine this a little bit.
So you were sitting there one day, you had 3 kids, and money is draining out of the savings account. And you just said, Beth, this is what we need to do now. And you went that way and you never looked back. What was that?
So for me, the very first thing was I started with my Remax brokerage, and the broker owner there, who, you know, is very entrepreneurial, like I said, he laid it out. I'm like, what do I do to start this up again? He said, he helped me with the business plan. He just basically gave me like the week by week, like do this and then do that. I'm very good with like one foot in front of the other kind of stuff. Sure. And I really went all in on that. So I just built it out all the way to the end of that. And when I got to the end of it, I'm like, okay, well, what's next? I'm like, well, you know, people don't usually go all the way to the end. Like, oh, okay.
New plan.
So that was when I decided to bring a coach on, you know, because I'm like, I know there's more, you know, there's always more. I don't care where you are in your career, like, or life, there's always more. So, so for me, it was just basically just like having that person basically like show me the way and to start working through those steps. And then like none of this is reinventing the wheel. There might be new iBuyer tech, there might be this, that, and the other. But honestly, like really the only thing, Zillow, whatever, it's like their internet leads, it all comes down to being genuinely helpful to the consumer, the buyer, the seller. These are people. We cannot forget that. And people are trying to think about what are we going to do in the face of all this change. Provide value, be a caring human being. People come to me when they call me, I don't care what source they're from, and they're like, Beth, can you help us with a house? Like I'm thinking about like, here's a person, I treat that, when I'm talking to that person, I talk to them like, in my mind, I'm thinking a friend is calling me because they have questions about real estate. So I treat them exactly the same way. Like if you or another friend just like called me and had questions, and I give them my genuine help. And I'm a real person looking to help them. I'm not focusing on a sales script or any of that. I mean, we definitely have our like path we want to go down with people that we want to work with, and you want to keep things on track. But I'm focusing in on them and how I can help them as a person. Because ultimately, the seller, the buyer, they're going to work with whoever they feel they have. They like, trust, and respect. And so It's just about building that relationship with people. Like we cannot forget that with all this other stuff going on. So I think that's like the number one key element to like all of it revolves around that. So
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
there's always going to be this always going to, you know, whatever that, you know, now the iBuyer is just the latest thing, you know, it's always going to be some new disruptor. But ultimately, this is a business with human beings, and some people are going to want to do like the automated, like push button sell house. You know, that's fine. I'm not looking to help those people. If they want to do that, that's fine. looking for the ones who need a trusted advocate to help guide them through a difficult and often stressful time in their life. Those are the people that I'm looking to help. So just being mindful of that.
That's fantastic. All right, Beth Traverso from Seattle, Washington. This has been fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on Real Estate Rockstars. Now, where can people find you besides in Seattle?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And what are you going to be putting on our website to give to the audience?
Yeah. So I'm sharing my marketing program book, and it's something that I bring to it's part of my pre-listing pack. And anybody can go in there and customize it with their own information. It's branded to me, but it's basically just like it lays it all out. It's sort of like a resume and like what to do to prepare your house for sale, how this whole process is going to work in a really, really nice like book format that can be printed out and given to people. So I'm sharing that. And if somebody wants to find me, they can just Google me, but they can also just go to BethTraverso.com. So it's Traverso spelled Traverso. BethTraverso.com, and would love to connect with anybody here. And if anybody has any questions or wants to discuss anything, I'm always happy to help out.
Cool. Beth, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate your time.
And appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Estate Rockstars. If this free content is giving you a ton of value, I want to ask a small favor in return. I need you to pull out your pointing finger and hit the subscribe button. Yes, hit subscribe, please. The more subscribers that we get on Real Estate Rockstars, the better guests are attracted to the shows. We'll get more guests from the top companies, from the top teams, and even more celebrity guests like Robert Kiyosaki and Barbara Corcoran. Also, if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio right on Facebook and join the conversation. I'm on there myself on FaceTime Lives, and we have a lot of communications and questions about the show, and I'd love to see you there. And it's free. People ask me all the time, where am I on social media? I'm real easy to find. Just type in my name. My IG is I am Pat Hyben. It is blowing up on Instagram, adding tons of subscribers, and I'm on there probably twice a day. So definitely follow me on Instagram, as well as everywhere else. Thanks again for listening, and keep rocking.